I'm Jenny, and I just finished 1 year on the carnivore diet. I honestly can't believe it. I was a complete skeptic on day one, and now I could see myself eating this way for the long term. In today's video, we're going to take a look back on my first year because it wasn't just like a linear path. I had a lot of ups and downs, and I learned a lot. When I started, I naively thought that it was just as simple as eating meat, but it was a little bit more complicated than that, and there were some other factors to take into account. So we'll go over my year in review first, then we're going to go into my 1 year results with before and after weight, measurements. I just got a brand new DEXA scan. We're going to take a look at that. I'm going to share with you my last 3 months of continuous glucose monitor data. And then I also wanted to share with you a couple of other scans and things that I had done over the 1 year period. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, LMNT Electrolytes. LMNT Electrolytes has everything you need and nothing you don't. They have 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Keep you hydrated and also keep you in tip-top shape. Now, if you're just starting the carnivore diet, I always recommend to all the new carnivores that I talk to, have electrolytes right when you wake up in the morning. Me personally, on carnivore, I do the raw, unflavored element. I love that they have that option. No carbs, no sweeteners, no nothing. It's just the pure electrolytes. Do that in 16 to 24 ounces of water right when you wake up in the morning, and that's going to set you up for success throughout the day, especially early on in carnivore because those keto flu symptoms are real. LMNT has offered my viewers a free sample pack with any order. So here's what I recommend doing. I recommend ordering a box of the raw, unflavored elements, and then you're going to get the sample pack and you'll be able to try out all of the flavors. You can use my link. It's drinklmnt.com/Jenny Mitich. That's DRINKLMNT.com/Jenny Mitich, and you will get your free sample pack with any order. So be sure to take advantage of that as soon as possible. So let's go over the year. I started at the very end of December 2022, and I had a really rough first month. I did not drink enough electrolytes. Day 2 was the roughest for me. I ended up doing salt and water in the beginning because I had no idea about LMNT or electrolytes in general, so I just did salt and water. And my main keto flu symptoms in the first month were fatigue. I had a lot of weakness. I just felt very wiped out. I had some diarrhea, not a lot of constipation. You can get, either of them, but I experienced the diarrhea. Not explosive or anything crazy like that. Light diarrhea, if that's even a thing. It was not fun. But that first month on carnivore, I ended up losing 8 pounds, which is the most weight I've ever lost on any diet, any way of eating my entire life. So I was like, there's something to this. And I decided to commit to another 30 days. See, when I started this, I wasn't going to do it for a year. I honestly still can't believe I made it a year. I was just going to do 30 days and see what happens. So I was happy with the results. And I was also like, I'm getting to the end of the keto flu. I might as well just ride it out. Maybe I should do 90 days. I know Dr. Ken Berry talks a lot about a lot of the benefits start around that 90-day mark. So I was like, okay, let's at least just do, another 30, and then we can recommit to another 30 at the end of February if we want to. So I did that. And in the month of February, I was definitely less strict. We had traveled down to Florida for a few weeks, and on the way, we always hit Buc-ee's. Their brisket is the bomb, and we had it with some of their barbecue sauce. I did stay mostly carnivore. I think I had vegetables a couple of times, and I definitely included dairy. I didn't do dairy that first month. That second month, I had a lot of half and half in my coffee, and I didn't lose as much weight. I only lost 2 pounds in the month of February. And also my keto flu symptoms cleared up by week 6. 4 to 6 weeks keto flu total for me in the beginning. That is excessive. That's a long time. Most people have it at most 2 to 3 weeks. So I don't really know what was going on there. I was eating a lot of fruit and vegetables before I started carnivore. I was basically eating lean meats, fruits, and vegetables. And man, I had a rough time. So if at all possible, I recommend people ramping their carb intake down slowly before they start carnivore. Get it down to 100 and then 50 and then 20 and then go down to 0 because man, that keto flu was real. So then going through February, I decided, okay, I only lost 2 pounds. So I think I'm just going to tighten it up again. Going into March, I tightened everything up. I quit the dairy and I lost 5.5 pounds in the month of March for a total weight loss, 90-day weight loss of 15.5 pounds. Honestly, again, shocked. I've never lost that much weight in that period of time. I had been following the Noom diet before and I had lost 22 pounds in 11 months. So I lost 15.5 pounds in 3. That was wild. Going into April, I started to have some issues. I started to get really, really tired, a lot of fatigue. I didn't know what was going on. And then going into May, my hair started to fall out a lot. In the beginning, I was like, oh, maybe it's just a hormonal thing. And then I was like, man, this is a lot of hair. It got to the point where my husband noticed. He's like, honey, you're losing a lot of hair. And my eyelash artist also was like, wow, you're really shedding your eyelashes fast. I was like, what is going on? I thought maybe I had a thyroid issue. I thought, okay, I just had kids, twins, maybe 18 months before. Maybe it's something to do with that. So at the end of May, I wanted to do 6-month blood work. So I had some stuff set up at my doctor anyways, went in, got some blood work, talked to my doctor about it. She had no idea what was going on. She thought maybe it was like long COVID. She, said, no, your thyroid's normal. So it's probably not that, though she wouldn't do any other testing besides TSH. What's new? So I was just, at a loss, and my hair was falling out. As a woman, that's scary. I mean, it's scary for a dude too, but like, wow. So I started to do some, research on YouTube, found a few videos, a couple that were really helpful. I'm going to link them in the description below. First one was from Laura Spa, and the second one was from Dr. Ken Berry. And then I found a third one. I don't remember who made it, but I'll link them in the description, talking about something called telogen effluvium. So this is a phenomenon that happens after a large stressor. It could be from a death in the family, a major surgery. It could be from a major diet change. It could be from a major weight loss, something like that. And then what happens is your hair follicles go into a dormant phase, and about 3 months later, they fall out. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So I was like, this sounds exactly like what's happening to me. And I thought about it a little bit more. Yeah, I had a major diet change at the end of December, carnivore, going from eating fruits, vegetables, lean meats, very little processed food, but just a lot of carbs, going to a strictly animal-based diet. And I lost 15.5 pounds in 3 months. So I was like, okay, eureka, this is what's going on. And it made me feel a lot better. But in watching those videos, I also learned that maybe I wasn't getting enough protein, and that exacerbated the issue. I might not have been able to prevent it completely, but maybe if I had been eating enough protein, I could have slowed it down, or not as much would have fallen out. So I looked back. I track all my food through the free version of MyFitnessPal. I do this because I'm kind of a data nerd and I like to have all of that, but also I'm sharing this, information with you on YouTube, so I like to keep track. And I looked back and I was eating like 70 grams of protein or 90 grams of protein, and that is nowhere near enough for a person of my size. At that point, I think I was down to like 170 something. So I decided to up my protein. I like to calculate my minimum protein needs by taking my ideal weight, which at this point is 130 pounds, and I do 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal weight. So for me, I need a minimum of 130 grams of protein per day. And when I started to do that around the end of May, I really started to feel better. So going into June, my hair was still falling out a little bit, but I had my energy back. And that was a big deal for me. So made it through June. July was really good. July, I stayed pretty strict, lots of sunlight. We were out a lot on the water and camping, and it was super fun. And then going into August, I wanted to do a challenge. I wanted to lose a bit more weight and see if I could do a more restrictive version of carnivore. So I decided to do a BBB&E. BBB&E is beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And that is all that I ate for the month of August. I was really strict. I think I did pork sausages once. I had like 1 bite of my kids' sausage in the morning, and then I had pork ribs when we were at Mackinac Island. And that's it. The rest was just bacon. And I ended up losing 6.6 pounds in 1 month, which is the second most weight I've ever lost on the carnivore diet. And it was very effective. So highly recommend BBB&E if you have not given that a shot yet. So that was August. Okay, September was crazy. I wanted to do kind of a dirty lion. So I started off the first 2 weeks of September eating only beef, but I was also preparing my low-carb beef tallow crunch bars for kind of a Halloween release video, chocolate bars made out of beef fat. And so I made those twice, and I ate all of them twice. So lots of artificial sweeteners. I was also drinking Sprite Zeros and Coke Zeros, which I don't normally do. Drank a lot of them that first couple of weeks of September, and man, I felt like crap. I felt like I did the first month on carnivore. And it was really funny. I just felt wiped. Did electrolytes, did everything, and it just, I wasn't feeling good. So at middle of September, I was like, screw this, I'm going back to normal carnivore. I cut the artificial sweeteners and I just ate normal carnivore for the rest of September. And then I think I had 5 instances in the month of September where I had vegetables. So like 5 keto days, and then the rest was carnivore. So it was a kind of a wacky month. I did a video comparing BBB and E to the kind of dirty carnivore, strict versus dirty carnivore. That was a very interesting video. If you have not seen that yet, I compared my blood work between the two, and it was really fun. September is also a very stressful month for me. I'm getting ready for the boys' birthday party, which was in October. I put up all of my Halloween stuff. I always film a couple of videos around that. So I was really stressed out, and I think that didn't help. I wasn't getting as good a sleep. I wasn't getting as much exercise. September was rough. Going into October, this was probably my roughest month on carnivore, mostly because I cheated on carnivore a lot in the beginning of October. We went up north to our final camping trip of the year, Eagle River, Wisconsin, and I just was like, I'm gonna eat whatever the hell I want. And I had like ice cream sandwiches, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I had Taco Bell and Dairy Queen. I instantly felt like crap. You know, the sugar ups and downs and stuff. And I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but I just can't eat it anymore. It hurts me. My knees started to hurt anytime I eat gluten, and that hurt for about a week. And then that following weekend was the boys' second birthday party, and I drank a lot of hot rakia. Rakia is a Serbian moonshine, and my mother-in-law makes this delicious. It's just like half water, half rakia, and then a bunch of sugar. Drank a bunch of that. Did not feel great. And then we went and saw Dave Chappelle on the 17th in Milwaukee, and then that night got home. I was really good all day, and then I ended up eating like some expired ravioli and a sleeve of stale Oreos, and it was not my finest. It was not fun. So I got back on strict carnivore on the 18th of October, and within a few days, I started feeling a lot better. I did have a bag of peanut M&Ms for the boys' first Halloween excursion, but that was okay. That was totally worth it in my opinion. And then we move into November. So in November, I did really well. I stayed pretty strict carnivore except for Halloween, that bag of M&Ms, and starting on the 18th of October. And in November, still did really, really well. I had a cheat meal on Thanksgiving. I had some green bean casserole, I had this corn bake, and I had some rice pudding, no pie. I did have some mashed potatoes and gravy and turkey. And then after that, I've been strict carnivore ever since. Also in November though, I ate a lot of food. I kept it carnivore, but I ate a lot of food. I came up with 2 recipe videos for the holidays. One for carnivore holiday meals, and one of them was for carnivore recipes for leftover turkey. So we had a lot of extra food laying around, and a lot of those recipes had dairy in them. And like I said, anytime I consume dairy, I'm not losing as much weight. So my weight loss kind of stagnated in October for sure, and definitely in November, even though I was strict carnivore. So going into November, I decided I needed a challenge. So I came up with a 4-month carnivore weight loss challenge. I'm trying to lose as much weight as possible before the end of March. My birthday's in March, I turned 40, and I really want to hit my goal weight, or at least get really close to it. So I do better with a challenge. That August BBB and E, man, that really kind of drove the point home that I really like to have something difficult to try to achieve. I've always been that way. So I decided to put together a 4-month challenge and to open it up to you guys to do along with you. And I honestly thought there'd be like 20, maybe 30 people that want to do it along with me. And I got so much response from that video. I ended up with 330 people doing this challenge along with me through the month of December. And as a group, we lost over 600 pounds. And then for myself, I was able to get past that plateau of 162, and I was able to crack back into the 150s. I lost 5.8 pounds in December because of the accountability, the support, and the community from this group. So that was probably one of the better decisions I made in 2023, doing carnivore with a community. So all in all, I am just super, super pleased with the year. Yeah, I had some ups and downs. Not happy that my hair fell out or anything like that, but it'll grow back. That's just part of the process. And also with that, I do want to say that that's not just like, oh, the carnivore diet makes your hair fall out. That's not true. It could happen with vegan, vegetarian, any kind of extreme diet change that shocks your body could cause it. This does happen a lot after people have bariatric surgery, having a child, child, different things. So let's not blame carnivore for it. It's just, it happens sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you, but be sure to pay attention to your protein intake because that can help to slow it down or maybe prevent it from happening at all. So be sure to pay attention to that in the beginning. All right, let's go into results. Let's start with my before and after weight. I started off on day 1 at 194.8 pounds, and on day 365, I weighed 160.2 pounds for a total loss of 34.6 pounds, just rounded up to 35. And okay, not a ton of weight. I've seen people lose that in a month, but I also didn't have a ton of weight to lose in the first place, and I had some of those roadblocks. There were some times when I wasn't losing any weight at all, but I did maintain. So I learned a lot the first year, a lot of lessons I'm going to take into year 2, and hopefully we can get closer to that goal weight of 130 pounds. Also, as of recording, it is January 3rd when I'm recording this, and I am down to 158.6 now. So the weight is really coming off after I tweaked a bunch of stuff. Now let's talk about some before and after measurements. I take 4. I do chest, waist, belly, and hips. Belly is just around my belly button area. It's where I'm holding most of my post-pregnancy weight gain, and it's a little bit lower than the natural waist. Let's start with chest. I went from 44 inches down to 39 for a total loss of 5 inches. Next is waist. I went from 37 to 32 for a total loss of 5 there as well. Next is the belly, and this is where I lost the most inches. I went from 40.5 down to 33 for a total loss of 7.5 inches. Finally, the hips, I went from 44 down to 40 for a total loss of 4 inches. I ended up losing a total of 21.5 inches in my first year on the carnivore diet. I went from a size 16 down to a size 10, and I'm actually starting to fit into size 8s now, and I'm fitting in 2 size medium shirts consistently. So that's totally amazing for me. More important to me than I think the weight, the total weight, because my body composition has just changed drastically. Let's talk a little bit about the body composition because that's really fun. I like to do DEXA scans. I just got a new one on day 365. So what a DEXA scan is kind of like an x-ray, and it's showing you your body composition. So your lean mass, your fat mass, and your bone density. And I also love that they do visceral fat readings. It's been super fun to watch that decrease. So let's go in first to the body composition analysis. From baseline, which was in September of 2022, so about 3 months before I started carnivore, I've lost a total of 33.5 pounds of fat mass. I've also lost about 5 pounds of lean mass total over that entire period of time. But interestingly, since my last DEXA scan was in, I think, August of 2023, and then this DEXA scan, I've actually gained 2.5 pounds of lean mass. So that, I think, is just kind of a visual representation of all of the work I've been doing at the gym. Let's talk about my absolute favorite part of the DEXA scan, which is the visceral fat reading. At baseline, I had 2.24 pounds of visceral fat. So visceral fat is the fat that's inside of the trunk of your body, around your organs, and you really don't want to have much of it. It's not good to have very much visceral fat. Now, over this past year, I've learned that you're probably never going to get that down to 0, nor do you want to, but you really want to have it in a healthy range. So I have reduced my visceral fat down to 1.11 pounds, which is well within the healthy range of visceral fat. And every time I get one of these scans, it goes down by about 0.2 pounds. So the last one I had in August, it was at 1.32 pounds. The amount of visceral fat I had in April was 1.5 pounds. So it's just been super cool to see that. I absolutely love the visceral fat reading. And for that alone, I think the DEXA scans are worth the cost. Another cool aspect of the DEXA scan is the bone density section. So this is not like the full bone density you would get if you have osteoporosis or something like that. That is a DEXA, but it's kind of a slightly different version of it. But this one is good for my purposes, and it shows that I am very good with my bone density. It's always been in the green, very high. And you can see it's kind of jumped up a little bit from the last one. I think, again, that's because of the strength training. Bones are alive, they're living, and they need to have loads put on them in order to strengthen. So strength training is one of the best things you can do to strengthen your bones. And you can start that at any age, especially for my older viewers that are watching this. If you have not not started strength training, do it. It doesn't matter when you start. It's going to improve your bone health. It's going to help you put on more muscle, helps you burn more calories, burn more fat. And it also helps with mobility and longevity. The more muscle you have, the less likely you are to hurt yourself from a fall. The easier you're going to be able to recover from an injury and things like that. So I always recommend strength training. And you don't have to go gung-ho. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. Just do a bit. Make sure it's difficult enough to where it's slightly hard to get through that last set. And that will be enough. Do that several times a week and you're going to be setting yourself up for success. The final page I want to show you is the body composition trends page. So we can see all the way over to the left is my very first DEXA scan in September of 2022. I didn't even fit onto the measuring area. They have to use software to compensate for that when you don't fit on the area. And you can see in red is where all of the fat is. And you can see just so much more fat. On the far right, that's my most recent DEXA scan, and you can just see how much that has declined. I do still have some work to do for sure, but man, that is an amazing difference. And that's another thing I love about the DEXA scans is you can really see visually the progress that you're making. So if you'd like to do a DEXA scan for yourself, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I absolutely love them. I get them done quarterly. And they cost anywhere between like $60 up to like $150, $200. You can find deals on these. I put a link in the description of this video to DEXA's website where you can put in your zip code and find where there is a DEXA scan near you. I highly recommend getting one of these done. And then, tracking your progress with it because it's just fun to look at the data. Next, I wanted to do a quick look at my continuous glucose monitor data. So I use NutriSense. I this year did try out all of the other companies out there, Signos, Veri, but NutriSense is the best in my opinion. Great data. I love them so much. I use the Freestyle Libre CGM paired with the NutriSense app. If you have a continuous glucose monitor, you can just pay for the NutriSense app. I think it's a yearly charge, or you can sign up with one of their monthly programs where you get the CGM sent to you in addition to the use of the app. I think right now it's $225 as of January 2024. Now, I'm not sponsored by NutriSense. I would be 100% open to it, definitely, because I've been using them since September of 2022 and I love them. So I have 3 months of continuous glucose monitor data from before I started carnivore, which I think is really valuable. I was not, pre-diabetic or diabetic before I started this diet, but my fasting glucose at the last blood work I had before I started carnivore, which I think was May of 2022, it was 100, which is right there on the border, but then my doctor didn't order anything else, not an A1C, not a fasting insulin, not a fructosamine, nothing like that. You're fine. But that could have progressed. So I saw my before data. I'm going to put that up side by side with my most recent data from the past 3 months. We'll start with average glucose, and we can see it is much lower on carnivore. Then we can move into variability. Variability is really important. So this is just how much your blood glucose is going up and down throughout the day. And I think it was 15 before carnivore, and most recently I think it's 12. And the lowest it is on carnivore for me is 3. I don't have a lot of variability on carnivore. Next is the sleep average, much lower as I am sleeping. And then we have the morning average. I do experience slightly higher blood glucose levels in the morning upon waking, and I think that's because, the cortisol increases and then you wake up. But nothing really to be worried about. My average glucose levels are in the mid-80s on carnivore, I should say. It's been really fun to track. So if you'd like to try out NutriSense, I'll put a link in the description below so you can check them out. And I do recommend that everybody should put on a continuous glucose monitor. Non-diabetics, put on the glucose monitor for at least a month so you can see how food affects you. I also had a few fun scans throughout the year. I got a CAC scan. That is a CT scan of your heart arteries, and it's looking for calcified plaques. My CAC score was 0, which is what you want. And honestly, I'm 39, I'll be 40, like I said, in March, and that's very normal for my age group. There's not usually a lot of plaquing, calcified plaquing, I should say. That is a very advanced form of plaquing. Now, there have been people my age that have had that happen, but I expected this to be 0. You get these done every 5 to 10 years, and I wanted to have a baseline so that if I continue on carnivore, that I can look back at this baseline, and then I can see, do I now have calcified plaques because I've only been eating meat? A lot of people argue that that's what happens when you eat only meat, is that your arteries are going to get super clogged. So I just wanted to have the data to show that that actually does not happen So I got that as a baseline. I also went and did a Lifeline screening. This was super fun. They did a AFib test, an abdominal artery test, and they looked at my peripheral arteries, so like my wrists and my ankles, to make sure everything was flowing good. And I'll pop those graphics up on the screen. Everything came back super, super healthy. I think I paid $171 for that scan, and that's open to anybody that wants to get them done. They're traveling all around the country all the time doing these scans, so that's a fun option. The CAC scan was $49. Like I said, DEXA is between $60 to $150. All of my blood work that I get done, I do spend quite a lot of money on the blood work, but man, is it super, super fun. Speaking of blood work, I just got my 1-year blood work done yesterday. So I'm still waiting on those results to come back. I order everything through ownyourlabs.com, and then I get my blood drawn at LabCorp for those tests. So got a lot of fun tests done for the 1-year mark. We're going to be comparing those. I plan on having that video released, I think in the beginning of February. So if that video is complete, I'm going to link it right here. And also, if you're curious about the carnivore diet and want to learn more, I'm going to link my quick start guide to the carnivore diet right here. I want to thank everybody for their endless support of me and this channel and this fun carnivore experiment I've been doing for the past year. Again, can't believe I made it. And going into year 2, I'm staying carnivore for at least another year. So plan on there being a lot more fun experiments and lots more carnivore content. And with that, I'm going to go eat a big fat juicy steak because I'm hungry. So I will see you next time.